Hello, everyone. Happy that you guys are on the call. So happy, too, that you're taking advantage of this time that we have in this unfortunate circumstance. We're learning all we can, and we're happy to teach you some things about Doorbird.
Right. I totally agree. And kind of right up top, I'd like to thank Volutone and the other network of distributors. Something like this is so invaluable, especially with all the craziness going on and schedules for shows and just travel in general changing, to be able to stay present and supporting the customers and the dealers. That is definitely obviously a priority for Volutone and their family, and for us as well. So for them to help and make this platform available, awesome and great, and it definitely aligns with everything we want to prioritize as far as being here for our customers and for the for the installers out there, still out there doing work and looking for support. So that's great. So presentation here. So hopefully everyone can see my screen. If anybody does have an issue with screen or audio, please chat. Gary and Justin are looking at the chat window, so if anything pops up, let me know and I can try to address. But it seems like everything's okay right now, so good. So as mentioned, Doorbird, in the presentation today, we're going to provide sort of an education here. We'll start with a high-level overview of the product line, and then as we move down the presentation, we'll take a closer look at some specific models, kind of highlighting some of the newer models out there, some of the accessories you might not be aware of. Regarding questions, go ahead and put them in the chat window, and Gary and Justin will jump in here and there with anything that comes up, and I can address it on the fly. I got no problem jumping forward, jumping back. That's good for me. And likewise, I'll take some pauses throughout the presentation to provide the opportunity to come in with questions. And then at the end, we'll leave some time for that also. So, no problem taking questions as they come. So let's start with the kind of the core feature of the Doorbird, right? I don't want to assume everybody's entirely familiar. So somebody rings the doorbell, it's going to send a push notification to the smart device. User swipes open on that smart device. They'll be delivered the live video. They can tap a button, activate the two-way audio, and then there's another button that they can tap to activate the relay that's built into the Doorbird. The Doorbird app is free, and it's available for iOS and Android. Some common questions we get about the app. So how many users can be using the app for a door station at the same time? We usually put that number at 8.
Hey, Andrew.
Not like
sorry to cut you off. Are you sharing your screen right now?
Oh, already. Let's see. Here we go. All right, give me a second. Here we go. I apologize. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm gonna have to jump out and jump back in. It's a systems preferences thing. I apologize. Give me 1 second.
I'll take a couple seconds too to say this. You know, we recognize how valuable it is to support our guys in the field. So again, you know, if you have any questions, whether it's pre-sale, whether it's during the actual application or installation of the product, please reach out. I'll be your main contact, whether it's a phone or email. So happy to assist you guys again. All right, here he comes. Looks like you're muted, Andrew.
All right, my apologies. How does it look now?
Beautiful.
We're seeing it?
Yep.
Okay, thanks for bearing with me. That's thanks for being patient. So as mentioned, the push notification to the app, you're gonna swipe open on that. You're gonna see the audio. I'm sorry, you're gonna see the video. You have the two-way audio, and then a button where you can trigger the relay that's built into the Doorbird. As mentioned, available for iOS and Android, and it is free, no recurring cost for that app. And back to the common questions asked about the app. How many Doorbirds on the app can you have running simultaneously? As you can see there in the picture, you can have multiple Doorbirds. You can name them, they'll line up beneath the live image. We put that number at about 10. So that is not anything that's written into the firmware. That is just a kind of a conservative number that we use as a guideline. So 10 running is about a safe number that you can have without issue. And likewise, the other side of that is how many people can be using the app with a specific Doorbird at any one time. We put that number at about 8. So now we'll take a look at some of the universal features that are common across all the Doorbird intercoms. So every model in our product line will share these features. So they all have a camera for the live video. They all have about a 180-degree viewing angle that's very wide. So it really is essentially like a fisheye lens. So you can be standing to the side of that camera and still get into the frame. So it's a very wide viewing angle. They all have IRs around the camera for night vision. So IR cut filter, low light conditions, the image will go black and white for night vision, not a problem. They all have the two-way audio. So speak, listen, back and forth, no problem. All of the models have a built-in motion detector, which can be used to send push alerts, etc. All the models have at least one built-in relay. Some have one, some have two. We'll look at that further down in the presentation and specify which ones have 1 and 2, but all have at least one relay built in. All the models can be powered via PoE and connected to the network via a hardwired connection. So for none of the intercoms do you have to depend on Wi-Fi, right? So these features are the same across all the models, and we'll look at some of the specific specs per model as we move farther into the presentation.
Here's
Again,
one question, Andrew.
What's that?
One question I'll throw at you.
Yes.
Can you stream video to a VMS?
Yes, yes. So all the Doorbird cameras, the video exists on the local area network. It can be pulled out any number of ways. An ONVIF compliant NVR or VMS should be able to find the video, the camera rather, via a device discovery on the network. If for some reason that's not working, via the Open API and a URL address, you can pull the video out, the RTSP stream as well, and bring that to whatever VMS you'd like, so long as it exists on the local area network.
What about a record or history feature?
Aha. So if we're speaking of a record or history feature regarding like visitors and images and or video, most of the models, all of the single resident models, will capture still images for free out of the box of the last 50 visitors. There is a cloud recording option where you can activate 20-second video clip recordings. That is available also. And then of course the Nvr VMS integration. So that's how like a visitor history, like a visual record of visitor history would be handled. Good, okay. Back to kind of the universal features here. The intercoms, of course, IP65. So inclement weather, not a problem. Snow, rain, not an issue for the Doorbird. And operating temperature, we have these in Alaska, Minnesota, to Dubai and Texas and Las Vegas. So hot, cold, we have yet to find an environment that poses any issue for the Doorbird. As far as the installation, pretty simple. So once the app is downloaded to the phone, the image that you see here is what we refer to as the digital passport. User credentials are on there, including a QR code. App on the phone, you're going to scan that QR code. Now the Doorbird's registered to the app, and you're up and running. It's that simple. On the other side, the configuration side, there is a separate set of credentials for the administrator area of the app. That is where the configuration sits. That can be accessed via the app or via a web portal. So whichever you prefer, and both are obviously remote. So as far as the configuration, the deeper settings like Nvr integration, some of the more advanced features, that can all be done from any mobile device running our app, and can be accessed also again through that web portal. Then there are also the features that set the Doorbird apart. So this is what makes us sort of unique to some other comparable products out there. And again, these are the same across all the models. So as mentioned, the relay's built in. There's also a terminal to bring in a third-party access control device. All the units are SIP enabled. So pairing that with a Panasonic or pairing that with a SIP server or even just an individual IP phone, not a problem for the Doorbirds. That gives a lot of flexibility and a lot of ability to customize how the user interacts with the Doorbird. So that's very cool. And then with the Open API, we had drivers built for all the major home automation platforms. Control4 has been I think maybe the biggest one. That driver is out now. It's on its third generation. Real world tested, a good driver. But then we also have them available for some of the other major home automation platforms as well. The aforementioned Nvr integration. And if you have somebody in-house who wants to handle some integration with whatever platform, that API is available on our website for free. You just scroll to the bottom of the web page and there it is. So we make that programming environment open for anybody who wants to use it. So I was going to transition to looking at some specific models. Any questions you want to throw out before I move on? No? Okay.
So I think you might be hitting on it later, but let's make sure we're covering it. So this is a two-part question. The first one is, can Wi-Fi still work? And will traditional wiring, I'm assuming, work for the doorbell?
Both good questions. So Wi-Fi is available on two of the models, the D101 and the D1101. And we'll take a look at those in a couple slides here. And the traditional wiring question, if the question is regarding like existing wiring and if that can be used to network the Doorbird and to get the Doorbird operating, the answer is yes, if paired with one of our converter accessories, which we also will be looking at later in the presentation. So sort of a short answer, yes to both. Long answer coming as we move through the presentation.
Okay, here's another one.
Okay.
Is this an NVR or cloud base?
It can be either. So all the single resident models have a cloud recording option that can be turned on for $53 a year for the video recording. Still images are free, video recording, single resident models, $53 a year. All of the models can be brought into an NVR or other VMS to record the video that way as well. Cool. So let's start with the D101S. So we went over the kind of universal features of the Doorbird. So let's take a look now at the specifics kind of per model. So this model, 720p resolution. It does have that call button. This model is Wi-Fi enabled. So going to that question from just a second ago, this one can connect hardwired or Wi-Fi to the network, not a problem. PoE supported or the included transformer. So it does come with a transformer in the box, so you could choose either, whatever combination of Wi-Fi plus hardwired plus transformer you want to power this up, not a problem. That motion sensor in the center, that is what that black circle is, that is configurable. It looks like this. I'm sure you've all seen this before, common to IP cameras. You're gonna gray out the box, the area that you want the motion to ignore. So this is a small form factor unit. It is a plastic body and it is surface mount only. So no flush option on this. And there is one relay built into the back. That relay is normally open. It is momentary and it is passive and can be triggered via the app. So those are the specifics on this model. Taking a look at the back, mentioned a little bit before that there are other terminals that can be used to connect the Doorbird to things. So I'll run through this pretty quickly. The first terminal there is where you'd connect your RJ45 dongle. So that's for your hardwired connection plus PoE. Next to that is the terminal where you click in the leads to connect to, let's say, a door strike or a gate motor. So you can trigger that relay via the app and grant access to the visitor. You are able to bring in an external chime. So that's essentially just a relay that's activated when somebody hits the doorbell button. Both of these passive relays, so they do not provide power. So that needs to be wired in, but the contact closure is there on the Doorbird side. Next to that, the terminal will bring in third-party access control devices. So if they did want to bring in like a fingerprint reader, or there's an existing prox reader that they want to use, so they don't have to swap out fobs or what have you, you can wire that in as well. And then if you are connecting via Wi-Fi, last terminal there is where you bring in the included transformer to provide power. As mentioned, cloud recording is an option, 50 still images for free, $53 a year will activate the video recording. And those are stored in our cloud. Those clips can be downloaded to a smart device to hold on to and save, but they are stored in our cloud for 7 days. Once that clip hits 7 days old, it is deleted. Questions?
Yeah, what about Wiegand protocol in and out or RF card readers?
So the readers are not Wiegand. Currently, they are 64-bit, 125 kilohertz. So Wiegand standard is 26-bit. So the credentials that we use and the reader that we use, it's not proprietary to us. The spec on those credentials is atypical though. So, if you happen to have a box of 64-bit fobs, they would work. But it is not typical. Most things in the world of access control are Wiegand, and that is 26-bit. So side note, in the next version of the models that do have the RFID reader built in, they will be going Wiegand. That is in the future, likely not going to be this year, but that is planned for the refresh of the D21 models, which we will look at in a second. So currently not Wiegand, but in the future will be.
Thank you. And can you clarify why you have a add device login and admin login for the digital passport?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Why do you have an add device login and admin login for the digital passport?
Oh, gotcha. Yes, good question. So there are two sections of the Doorbird app. One is the general user section, right? That's where you're going to see the user interface. That's where there are some, let's call them lighter configurations that can be done, some preferences, like some settings like, yes, I want push notifications, no, I do not, etc. So that is the interface that the end user will generally be seeing. So that is the login credentials. That's what is on the left side of the paper. So that's adding the unit to the app, registering the Doorbird to an app, and using that user login, you now have access to the user interface with a live video and then those lighter settings. The other side, let's call it like the back end, that's where all the administrator configuration lives. So that's where you're granting permissions, scheduling relays, registering like key fobs, pin codes, setting up the SIP if that's an option, etc. So those are behind a separate set of logins. So typically the way that's used is the installer or whoever's managing the system for everybody will usually hang on to the administrator credential so that the general user is not able to access that area. Partly for security, partly for just that added control to make sure a user doesn't get in there and start flipping toggles. And now, if you had it integrated with a Control 4 system, they don't get in there, start turning schedules on and off, and now the systems don't work together anymore. So that's why there's two separate logins. Hopefully that was the question. I think that hopefully that was it.
I think so.
Great. So this model here is the D1101V. This is the newest model. This was released just a couple months ago. So key features of this model, this is a 1080p resolution over the local area network. This model is also Wi-Fi enabled, so you can also install this Wi-Fi or hardwired. This model has one configurable relay. So this is different from the D101. This relay can be configured to be normally open or normally closed and can be set to be latching or momentary. So a little more flexibility with that relay, which is cool. So now like a mag lock, no problem. If it is connected to a gate or maybe it's a commercial property and they want to just like have that thing open all day from like 9 to 5, you'll latch that relay, no problem. The speaker improved also, or rather the speaker and the amplifier chip. So the volume out of this unit gets much, much louder than the D101. That's also a big plus. So if there is a busy street or maybe it's a setting that has some environmental noise, this speaker much better at getting above the din. So that's been a key component of that upgrade, a highly requested feature upgrade. This motion detector also better than on the D101. So we looked at that grid where you're graying out squares. This motion you can configure to detect by distance and direction of motion. So let's use that busy street example again. If there is a busy street and those cars zipping by, you don't want it to set off the motion, you dial it in, you tell the motion only trigger events if the motion is within 6 feet. And you can also tell the motion to ignore any motion that is happening, like going away from the Doorbird. So if a good example, it's on a commercial property and you don't want it to go off every time somebody leaves, you can tell the motion only trigger an alert if something's coming at the Doorbird. So that can be done with this motion, and that's kind of a cool feature also. This is a stainless steel construction, so it is like a a metal unit versus the plastic. And this is actually the smallest form factor we have available. It's roughly the size of an iPhone 8, so it is a little bit smaller than the D101 that we just looked at. And it is also available in a recessed mount. So what you're seeing here is the surface mount version. You can also get something that will recess into the wall, separate model that's recessed. So taking a look quickly at the back, it's very similar to the D101S. So all the same terminal ports here are available. One of the differences here, and from an installation standpoint, this is kind of nice, is you don't have to use the dongle. On the D101, you have to use the dongle. This has a Phoenix connector in the back rather than those white clips with leads. So you could just bring in and terminate the network cable right into the back of this unit. So you don't have to worry about burying that dongle someplace. So that's kind of nice. Aside from that, the same relays are available for triggering via the app, like an access control device, like a door strike. You can, again, also bring in that external, that wired chime, and then you can bring in also the third-party access control device, and then the terminal for the included transformer if you are connecting via Wi-Fi. So this unit here, cloud recording options are going to be the same as the D101 that we just looked at. 50 still images for free, and 53 a year will activate the video clip recording. So I just wanted to actually do a side-by-side here quickly. It is a common question we get now that the D11 is available. Why would I choose one over the other? So the key things I usually touch on are, one, just aesthetically, it looks a lot more substantial. It has a real slick look to it. It's elegant. That metal construction looks really nice in the front of the house, especially if they do want to go with something like a bronze to kind of, show off a little bit. It matches the fixtures, etc. Functionally, the speaker being louder is a pretty nice upgrade. So that speaker is considerably louder, and it's going to provide that much more of a, let's call it just like safety, a fail-safe, giving something that is really going to be able to perform regardless of what's happening in the environment. So that louder speaker is a big deal. And then something that you might not think about, but is oddly sort of a big deal, is the motion detector. So it's hard to tell from the picture, but the front of this model, the D101, that black circle is like a half dome. It's raised up against the surface of that unit. I can't speak as to why, but everybody runs up and crushes that with their thumb. So it's very common for us to get a phone call that the nanny or the pizza delivery person ran up and pushed that thing in with their thumb. Even though the doorbell button is right beneath it and lit up, they still will run up and hit it with their thumb. And that's considered an out-of-warranty repair. So it's not, it's not replaced for free, etc. So one of the first things we did on the D1101 is remove that half dome, and now it's just the motion is behind like a black rectangle. So I tend to be pushing people towards the D11. It's all around a better model for a number of reasons, and those are sort of the key ones talking point wise. So questions before we jump into the D21 models?
Yeah, so here's a question.
Yes.
It's in regards to pre-wire. What pre-wire type do you recommend during construction?
At least one network cable. So putting aside, let's say any wiring to the relay, one network cable will do it, and that's for the Doorbird, that would be the minimum, kind of like a best practice. So that network cable, there's your power via PoE, and there's your hardwired connection to the network. And the Doorbird also only uses 4 of those conductors. So you still have 4 left over if you do want to connect to the relay and bring it back to a head end, wherever that PoE switch is sitting. So it is that I would say at least one network cable, one CAT cable is the way to go. And then obviously whatever you need for connecting to the relay.
Okay, and here goes a question a very popular one. Will we see Apple HomeKit support being added to the Doorbird products?
It is on the roadmap. I don't have a firm ETA on that, but it is something the development team is laboring on.
What about the D1101V in gold? Is that available?
So the finishes available now are the stainless steel and the bronze. I wish I could have more like of a concrete answer on this. The adding of more finishes is right now TBD. I think the plan is to have them added. We're sort of dipping our toe into the finishes as we go. We're taking it kind of a step at a time. So I think we're waiting to see what the demand is, what finishes are people asking for the most, and then I think the option will grow as we receive feedback from customers as in regards to what features they like, what finishes they like to see.
Could someone have that painted separately? Is that possible?
That is a possibility. So like all the other Doorbird models, they are designed to kind of come apart. So the faceplate does come off. So yes, it would be possible to remove the back and have it finished separately. That is something that could happen, yeah.
Okay, and I think you answered this question already, but it looks like this answer came in after. So just so it's clear, can the D1101 be converted to a recessed mount by purchasing an adapter or something like that?
No, and here's why. The faceplate for the recessed version and the surface mount version are different sizes. So the recessed mounted version is slightly taller and wider to account for the frame, like the bezel on the recessed mounting box. So I guess, so technically you could take, so I guess I'll answer like this. Technically you could take the recessed mount separately and then put it onto the back of the surface mount model, but the face is going to be smaller than the frame of the recessed box and you'll be able to see it. So that being said, it is the module is the same. So the module would fit in both boxes, but yeah, it would look silly because you'd see the frame peeking out from around the edges.
And can you confirm, does Doorbird work with Savant?
Yes, there is a profile for Savant available in their dealer portal.
All right, I think we're good for now.
Great. So the D21 models. So again, I'm going to start with the general. I'm going to go over the features that are the same across the entire family here of D21 models, and then we'll get into the specific models and look at those features in the individual slides. So all of the models, all of the intercoms in the D21 family are all 720p resolution. All of these intercoms have 2 relays built in. Again, passive, so providing no power, but they are configurable. So they can be normally open or normally closed and latching or momentary. And both of those relays can be triggered via the app and they can be renamed. So you can go gate, front door, keep it nice and organized. They all have the same configurable motion sensor that we just saw in the D1101. They are all enabled with an RFID reader. As somebody just asked, that RFID reader is not weakened, so it is 64-bit, 125 kilohertz. We do sell fobs for those readers, but again, not proprietary to us. If you happen to have fobs with those specs, they would work, but we sell them as well since they are sort of not typical. There is a backlit call button. That call button, you can get an optional faceplate. So we sell these little metal tags that will go over that button because it comes with out of the box. That button is like illuminated plastic, and there is a label you can print on and insert. But if you'd like something a little nicer, something personalized, we do have plates we can engrave. We also have plates that have just like a picture of a bell, like an icon of a bell carved out of it, and it looks nice against the backlit plastic button. So we have those available. All of these models ship with the recessed box, so they're all ready to be pushed into a wall. But if they need to go surface, you can take a surface mount box separately. So all of these same across the D21 models. Something to note, these do need to be hardwired. None of the D21 models will connect via Wi-Fi. So that's just another look at the motion detector and how that can configure. But same distance, direction. So this is what the connection looks like on the back of the D21 models. So since it requires a hardwired connection, we went ahead and put that RJ45 jack in there, so you can go ahead and click in that network cable. Next to that are the 2 terminals for the onboard relays, again, triggered via the app. And from there, it's the same as the D11 and the D101 models, another terminal for an external wired chime, and then another terminal for the third-party access control device that you can wire in, and then the terminal for the included transformer, which you may need if the network switch does not provide power and for whatever reason they don't want to upgrade to a PoE switch, you could then just bring in the power via the included transformer. Okay, so in the D21 model line, we have both single resident models and multi-tenant models. So I'm going to start by taking a look here at the single resident models, and then we'll take a closer look at the multi-tenants. So the D2101V, that's there on the left, that has all the features that we just went over. Then next to that is the D2101KV. As you can probably guess, that K stands for keypad. So it is essentially just a D2101 with a keypad added. So that keypad can be used for access control pins or for sending HTTP requests. So in the case of a Control4 system, you are able to create, let's say, a panic mode code. So if I do think something's up and I'm pulling into the house, I can hit, like, let's say 0911 pound, and that can trigger the Control4 system to, let's say, turn on all the lights, lock all the doors, start playing a siren. So that's sort of a cool feature. And those keypads, and those access control pins, all managed via the app or the web portal. So those pins I can create, delete, schedule all via the app. I can create a pin that, let's say, only works on Wednesdays or works 5 days a week, but only for like 1 hour each day. I can also create pins that have a date range, so it's good for this week and then is no longer good. I can also create a pin that is good for one-time use only. And again, all done via the app, so nice and convenient, so you can manage that from wherever you are remotely. The D2101 also has a real extensive option for finishes. So the ones that you see listed right next to the picture of the model there, those are, I kind of call them on-the-shelf finishes. So those are ready to go. So like the stainless steel, the bronze, the titanium is really popular. Those are all in stock, ready to be shipped. To the right of that, you'll see some of the one-offs we can do. So we have about 50 options for these kind of one-off colors. So if you do have somebody that decides, like, no, I need this to match the Ferrari, we have a color option here that we can do for you. The lead time is going to be a little bit longer because we do them like per order, but red, orange, green, like sandy brown, we have a lot of options as far as the colors for the D2101. For the D2101KV, the two options are stainless steel and bronze. And the reason we don't offer this model in more colors is the keypad. So the keypad to get the caps in all those different colors is actually a much bigger chore, let's say. So bronze, no problem. Stainless steel, no problem. But the other colors, unless you wanted a mismatching keypad, so we weren't able to add all of the variations of colors to this model. And both of these models, cloud recording options are the same as what we just saw before, 50 still images, and then the option for video recording for $53 a year.
And Andrew, can you confirm how many codes you can program into the keypad?
That's a good question. It is 100.
Thanks.
Yes. So multi-tenant models. We have two flavors of the multi-tenant models. There are individual call buttons, and then there are models with a keypad and LCD display. So individual call buttons, we can do those up to 18. So some people prefer that, a little more elegant. First, if you have like a 4-unit condo, keypad display might be a little too much. So the individual call buttons are nice. Something to note about these, like all the D21s, they come with the recessed box, but there is a surface mount box available for the 2-button and the 3-button. 4 buttons and up, no surface mount box is currently available. Side note, we are working on that. We do have surface mount boxes for some of the larger button configurations in the works now, but hopefully we'll see that soon. But currently, surface mount boxes 4-button and up are not available from us. The keypad display models. So actually, as just mentioned, that the keypad can also be used for access control pins. So the unit itself for apartments, the limit is 100. So this can create accounts for up to 100 apartments, pin codes up to 100 for access control. And that display can also be customized to display the address of the building, and then you can customize how it displays the name of the tenant. So as far as how these are set up, the kind of bullet pointed version of it is within the admin section of the app, you're creating an apartment account, let's call it. So those accounts exists uniquely and independently from all the other accounts. So for example, if I push button 2, the tenant in apartment 2 is going to get that push notification, and just the tenant in apartment 2. So they have their own and unique user credentials for logging in, et cetera. So you're creating the apartment user account. And then in the case of the individual call button model, you're simply pairing a button with that account. So in the app, in the admin section, it's going to give you the option to pair a button. So you're simply just pairing whichever button you want to the apartment account. And very similar in the multi-tenant model with the keypad and the LCD display, you're creating that apartment account. Then instead of pairing a button, you're creating a PIN. And then you're pairing that PIN with the apartment account. So if that makes sense, it's very simple. It's actually pretty manageable. And then especially by using the web portal and managing it that way from a desktop, it's quick to set up all those tenants. And once you've created those user accounts and paired it with a button and or PIN that you've created, you're going to get the option to share that user credential. And then from there, you're just emailing it directly from the app or the web portal. You're just sending it to the tenant. And then they can in turn scan it into their phone running the app, and there you go. Now they've just added that account to the Doorbird app. So what is nice about these solutions and kind of, I think, sets this product apart from some other ones out there in the market is you're really able to customize how the tenant interacts with these models. So you're not tied into one method or another. So out of the box for free, like all Doorbirds, that push notification to the smart device. That's a given. All the Doorbirds do it, doesn't cost anything. But a common request is, I also want this to call a landline phone, especially if it's a takeover. Whatever's there now has probably been calling that landline phone for years. And some tenants wanted to keep doing that, and they don't want to be married to their smart device. We can handle that also. Because the units are all SIP enabled, you can pair it with a SIP server. We have a company we work with who developed a package just for the Doorbird. It's it's well supported. It's really easy to configure, even if you've never dealt with SIP before. They made something that's really intuitive. So now you can have you can have it sending push notifications to the smart device, and then for these tenants up here, you can have it calling the landline. We'll take a look at it in a little bit, but we also have an indoor station. So that can be done per tenant, adjusted real time. So any combination of indoor station, push to the phone, calling the landline or a cell phone, you can have that customized per tenant, changed in real time. And that way you're able to deliver a solution that is really customized and kind of making all the tenants happy. And so that is something that does sort of set us apart. So that option is not going to be there for some other products out there. And then the Nvr integration, that we can get the camera recording into an NVR. For an MDU, that's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? So if it's a 75 unit building, they don't want to depend on cloud recording to maintain the security at the door. So being able to bring that into a VMS or an NVR and have a real secure video recording is kind of a imperative for a lot of MDUs. So a couple things to note about the multi-tenants. The terminal in the back that would connect for an external chime, that is deactivated. The logic being, it's a multi-tenant, where's that chime running to? So that is deactivated in the terminal block. And then the cloud recording is 50 images still there, yes. The video recording, no. So and this is, again, specifically the multi-tenant units, no cloud recording option for video. Reason being is privacy laws are very strict in Germany, and you are not able to record a multi-tenant station because it possibly could violate somebody's privacy. So that's not an option on the multi-tenants. But again, the Nvr integration is typically what would happen there anyway. So no, not much of a hindrance. Questions before we move on to accessories?
I think you're going to hit on a lot of the questions right now, so we'll wait.
Okay. So yep, feel free to jump in. Accessories. So I just mentioned the indoor station. This is it. This is the A1101. It is sort of a newer product. This came out, I believe, later last year, so it hasn't been around for too long, really. You can see sort of the specs called out here on the page. It is a touch screen. So that's nice. So as far as the interface, it's real nice, real intuitive. There are hard keys for the common common triggers, common events. So that key activates a relay, whether it be the relay built into the indoor station itself or the relay in the Doorbird. That's what that is. The star is a favorites button. You can set that to be any number of actions, whatever action is common to the user. You can go ahead and set that button to be that. The bell with a line through it, do not disturb. And then the button with the 3 lines, that will enter into a menu mode on the touch screen. So you can set up even a favorites page, what have you. So this will connect to the network via hardwired connection or via Wi-Fi. So network power options there for, same as the intercoms, PoE or the included transformer. It's going to come with the wall mount bracket, so you can get onto the wall. There is a tabletop stand available also. So if it is maybe a reception desk, which is actually a common request, a call we get a lot actually is, it's a business, they want something at the reception desk that is there, always there, not a smartphone, et cetera. So that's a good option for that. So it's essentially a hardware version of the app. So that is, and you can have as many of these paired with a Doorbird intercom as you'd like, and vice versa. So you can have 5 Doorbirds working on this one indoor station, and the station will bring up the video and controls for whichever station makes the call. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess at one of the questions here. Since we just looked at the multi-tenants, how does this pair with the multi-tenants? It can be paired per account, obviously. So you can have this in apartment 17, and it's only gonna be active for apartment 17. So there you go. The question regarding, does it need to be on the same network as the Doorbird station, especially important for a multi-tenant project? 2-part answer. No, it does not need to be on the same network as the Doorbird station. I could have this sitting in my office and have it connected to my Doorbird at home. You know, if I really want to know who's at the door, not a problem, it can do that. And it can do that, but is it better to have it on the same network? Absolutely. Reason being is, one, the connection time obviously is just going to be better, because if they're connected to separate networks, the connection point is the cloud. So if they're on the same network, no need to do that. So it's going to be kind of a better connection, et cetera. The other reason is it will add a layer of backup. So as mentioned, if they're on separate networks, the connection point is via the cloud. So if I have this in a 6-unit condo and everybody has the indoor station, but it's running on their personal network in their apartment, and the Doorbird is connected to like the building's network, a separate network. If Comcast were to decide to shut it all down and power everything off, the Doorbird intercom and the indoor stations now have no way of communicating. So they're going to stop talking. So the entry system now for the tenants, that communication, that buzz in the door, it's gone, because now the indoor station and the intercom have no way to trade information. If they're on the same network, even if Comcast shuts down, if the network gear in the building is still running, the switches still get power, the units still have power, they can still connect, because they are now communicating, because they're just communicating over the LAN. So they will keep working. So you can still get the video, you can still get the audio, and you can still buzz the door. So so if ever you have the option, definitely better if they're on the same network. So just, I kind of thought that might be one of the questions. So this is the IP chime. So also connects via Wi-Fi or a hardwired connection. It will never be truly wireless. It will not power off a battery. So even though you can connect to the Wi-Fi for the network, it still needs to be then plugged in for power. So just something to note. You can have as many of these connected to a Doorbird as you'd like, and vice versa. And you can customize the ringtones. So if I have a back door and a front door, I can have a ringtone for each that is unique, so I know who's hitting the button at which station. This is the A1081. This is a networkable relay box. So this box has 3 relays built in. Those relays are configurable, same as in the D21 models. And once this is on the network, it is paired with the Doorbird, and now those 3 relays are available in the Doorbird app. So if I am working on a commercial property and I wired up 2 of the doors and they decided, you know what, we actually have a loading dock, then a service door we also want on the system. We don't need Doorbirds there. We just want to be able to buzz. If somebody says, hey, I'm at the service door, you add this box, you take this relay, make it available in the app, and now they can buzz that door as well. The relays can also be named, so you can keep them nice and organized. As far as installation, same as the other products we saw. Wi-Fi, great. Hardware connection, great. PoE or the included transformer. There is also in this box two, we refer to them as Ext terminals. What they will do is when a closed circuit is formed on that terminal, it will send a push notification to the app. So if you do have something, let's say like another door where they don't care to have a Doorbird, they don't want the video or the audio, but they do want to know if somebody's standing there. You could put in just even a simple $5 doorbell from a hardware store. And when somebody hits that doorbell, closing the circuit on that terminal, it will send a push notification to the app. So that's actually kind of cool. It's kind of makes things flexible, and you're able to then really kind of customize and scale a project. So I think that's pretty neat. And now that we have all these relays, common question is, well, what if I want some people to see some relays, but not everybody? That's all done in the app. So in that admin section of the app, the one that is the user credential on the right side of that piece of paper, you are able to, per user, grant permissions for relays. So if it is a good example, again, is a multi-tenant situation. So if you do want the tenants to only be able to buzz 2 doors, you can go ahead and just give each user just the permissions for those 2 doors, but there's maybe a property manager who should be able to buzz all the doors. You go ahead and toggle those all on for that person. So that's, you can configure that per user. So this is the item that people find to be the coolest, actually. This is our 2-wire Ethernet converter. So what this will do is it will send data and power over just 2 conductors. So if it is a retrofit and the only thing in the wall is the 18.2 from the existing doorbell, these come as a sender and a receiver. They come as a set, and think of it like a video bail-in, but for data and power. So here, actually this picture is more helpful for this explanation. So I'm going to put on one end the sender unit with a little jumper into a PoE switch. I got my run of 18.2. I'm going to terminate that into the receiver end, and then a little cat jumper into the Doorbird. And that's it. So the only limitation would be standard to any other PoE run. Common wire rules apply. So it's about 300 feet. You know, for the upper limit of that run, obviously whatever, you know, the flexibility there, but, you know, recommended is about 300 feet. And there's nothing proprietary about this to Doorbird. You could use this with anything you want to put on the network. We actually have guys who keep these in their van, you know, because it's not uncommon for them to run into a situation where they need to network something, and the only thing there is, you know, like an old telephone cable or what have you. So we have guys who use these for things like CCTV systems. They'll take the 18.2 and the existing Siamese wire, take down the old analog camera, put up a nice new IP camera, and then use these in the 18.2 to bring network to the new IP camera. So these are very cool and can save a lot of time and money on a project when you can't get new wire into the wall, especially when the customer is like, nah, there's no way you're cracking open my wall for that. So I realize I covered a lot of ground really quickly. So question and answer time. They've been happening throughout, but any more for me to answer? Yeah. Oh, great.
So let's talk about the 1081. Does that work with any Doorbird model?
Yes, yes. So the accessories will work, any accessory will work with any of the Doorbird models. They all operate off the same firmware, so there's no issue as far as pairing this and that.
All right, beautiful. Do you have the ability to unlock a door utilizing a PIR motion REX, request exit?
Yes, so all the Doorbirds have a terminal where you can bring in a third-party access control device. And what that is, all that terminal is doing is when the closed circuit is formed on that terminal, it's activating the relay in the Doorbird. So a request to exit button, a fingerprint reader, so long as the contact closure is happening on the third-party device side, it will tell the relay to open or close.
Okay, great. Now this next question, I debated on answering it live or sending it to them directly, but I kind of don't want anyone to have this issue ever again. It's in regards to Hughes satellite internet.
Okay.
They have not had any success using Hughes satellite internet due to latency. Any solutions yet?
Nothing officially. I kind of want to refer that to one of the engineers, not to be evasive about the question. Considering I don't want to give any misinformation. So I would kind of like to get some more details on that question specifically, and then I'll run it by our engineers. I have no problem sharing the answer with everybody, but just in the interest of not, giving out something that might not be accurate, maybe we'd handle that separately.
Sure. Yeah. So if you are using Hughes Internet, maybe contact us before proceeding with that project for now. Is that safe to say, Andrew?
I think so. Yeah, I don't have like a concrete answer on that. So what we can do is tag in the engineers. Again, let's trade some information so we know exactly the gear that's being used, et cetera, and then we can escalate it to the engineers, and I can make sure we get a good answer for that.
Okay. All right, let's get this question out the way. This webinar, will it be available later as a recorded training material? I believe that's the case, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I recorded the whole session, and along with the presentation, you will get an email from me at 4 p.m. today with everything that we talked about today. Yep.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Gary. Okay, so we hit on this question earlier, but let's dig into it. Will these models be upgraded to at least 1080p? So all of our 720 I guess they're asking about.
Right. So the D101S is not going to get upgraded. So the upgrade to that was the D1101. So that is the upgrade to that. And yes, to the D21 models. So those are getting a refresh. As mentioned, the adjustment to the RFID reader, that going weekend, that's part of that also. Timeline for that, realistically, I don't think it's going to be this year. Likely sometime next year, hopefully early next year. But yes, it is on the roadmap to get those cameras upgraded.
Great. So what about our not for resale program? Is there a not for resale pricing available on the D1101 if someone wants to try that out?
There is. We can, we'll send you instructions for how to go about that. That is something we can do. So what's the best way to do it? You could go with hello at Doorbird, or Gary, I'm not sure if you have like a reply email that everyone can reply to, but whatever is most sensible and most organized, we can help with that. We can send instructions for the NFR for.
Well, do you have it on a link so I could just link it on my email today?
I believe we do. Yeah.
Great. Let's get the link and we'll have that on there as well.
Okay.
Okay. So this is a SIP question.
Okay.
Will this work as a SIP extension on Avaya with a digit press relay option?
It should. So all things being equal, Avaya, Panasonic, Vonage, it should work with any of those. I will say this. I have not spoken to anyone specifically who has done it with Avaya, but yes, it should be fine. It should work as an extension, and you should be able to trigger via like 9 pound or what have you. Okay,
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, okay, and this question is for Gary. Gary, did you say that the new D1101V is on sale right now at Volutone?
You know what? You caught me on the spot. I've got a new ad that just was sent out Tuesday. I'll include that in my email. So can I hold off on that for a few hours, and I'll give everybody the sale pricing at Volutone anyway, as well as links to AllNet and everybody else. And you can go ahead and check your Doorbird links there as well.
Perfect. All right, and give me just a second here. I'm gonna. Okay, so is there a professional installer / dealer program for the Doorbird?
I would probably refer you to Volutone for that. That's yeah, but that'd be my opinion on that. Would be Volutone would be kind of the keeper of that program. You're getting all the goodness from that network, that family, that support is something that Volutone has done, and we support them on it. And that the dealer program, all the benefits, really you're going to see them from your guys at MRI and Volutone, AllNet, CPD, et cetera.
Okay, good. Is there any risk or issue with changing the user's username and password?
Oh, that's a good question. That's actually something I didn't touch on. Risk, and well, I'll maybe a longer answer than you intended, but okay. So usernames and passwords. Usernames and passwords can be changed, but not customized. So regarding the idea of risk, I'm going to go ahead and say yeah. And the risk would be, since you cannot customize them, you might forget it. And so you might find yourself in a situation where you've changed the password and the passwords are auto-generated by the app. So it's a random string of characters. So we have had it happen where people are like, yeah, I changed the password and I cannot now for the life of me remember it because it was like 2567 ampersand 77 BB. So if that happens, and that kind of swings into now the longer part of the answer. So if you do lose the login credentials, not the end of the world, but there is a little now work to be done. So we don't have access to the digital passports. Security reasons, so we've all heard the horror stories, they've seen the news about violations of privacy, et cetera. Doorbird takes that very seriously. Again, German company, so those privacy laws are well guarded. We, on our side, don't have login credentials for your account. We can't get into a camera. We can't log in to change things. So if you lose that digital passport or you change a password and don't write it down, we can't retrieve that for you. What we have to do is reset the unit. So that can be done, and you don't need us to do that. That can be done over the network via the app. You are able to default the unit, and when that happens, it will generate a new user, a new digital passport with a new username and new login credentials. It will also blank the unit. It will default the unit. So if you did do some configurations in there, if you do have it connected to a SIP server, that's all getting reset. So, yes. So I guess take my very long answer, condense it. You can change username and passwords. You cannot customize them. We can't give you we can't copy the digital passport and give it to you. Resetting the unit will get you a new one, but it's going to blank out the unit. So.
All right, cool.
A lot of details.
Any plans for this to work with smart locks?
Yes. That's all I'm going to say. Yes, it is on the roadmap. Again, not to be evasive, can't give a lot of details on it right now, but it is on the roadmap. It is something the engineers are looking at.
Okay, and what about the C4 driver nowadays? What are any pros or cons you can speak to regarding the C4 driver?
Pros, it's the C4 driver was written by a company, Integration, and they have been with us really from day one. That driver has been updated numerous times. The last update to that driver was made by the programmer going through the list of user feedback and literally updating it to that list. So all the feedback, all the critiques, all the complaints, that's how we updated it. I've seen it up and running, and it's intuitive. The user interface is good. It covers a lot. It's mostly toggling things on and off. It's nice. It's been in the real world for a long time now, so it is road tested and doing well. So it's a good solid driver. I think currently the only feedback I have that would be like considered a con would be it is currently still a paid driver, so it does still cost money, which nobody likes. So but it's a solid driver. Yeah.
All right, nice. It looks like someone just posted a link here. I haven't checked it out, so disclaimer, but on how they integrate Doorbird into Control4. So,
oh, very cool.
It may be useful there.
Yeah.
And so one of the questions here that I missed earlier, but do we have a recommendation for the wire, the gauge, for connecting it to a relay?
I think a lot of that's going to be dependent on distance. 18.2 is typical power wire. That being said, if you're not going too far, you could use a cat cable, as mentioned. If you if the connection point is in the same line, the same run as the network cable for the Doorbird, you're only using 4 conductors, so you have 4 left over. You could use those. I think the big decider will be distance. Obviously, the thinner the gauge wire, the more trouble it's going to have covering any kind of longer distance. So typical power wire, though, I believe is 18.2. So that's always probably going to be fine. But thinner gauge is fine too if you're not trying to go too far.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, 18.2. So, okay. Now here's a question. This comes off of the question earlier about Smartlock integration. Okay. I thought Doorbird already worked with August smart locks.
I can expound on that. So we do have what we refer to as a soft integration. I'll quote finger that, soft integration. It's what it is you are able to select from a list, a smart lock manufacturer like August. And what that will do is I kind of wish I had a picture of it now. In the Doorbird app, when you hit the button, the icon to trigger the relay, if there is more than one option, so if there is more than one relay, you'll get a box that pops up that has all the listed relays. In that box, now that you've selected it, in that box will have the word August, because you've now selected that in the admin section. And when you tap on that, it will do a page flip out of the Doorbird app into the August app. It's a real quick, you'll literally see this happen on your screen. It'll go app, new app. And now it's the August app. You can use that to activate the August lock. And then up here in the the left-hand corner, there's a button to flip back to the Doorbird app. So it's pretty seamless. It's a lot less clunky than it sounds. But it's like a page flip, like, from their app, from our app to their app and back. That's what the integration is now.
What about unlocking two doors at the same time?
You can do that, yes. So the relays can be paired to fire simultaneously. So whether it be the relays built into the unit, like a D21 model, or any of the models paired with the networkable relay box, I can take relay 1 and relay, let's say 2 in the relay box, and I can pair them. So if I fire one, both are going to go.
Okay, and this is definitely, I'll say, a pain point for some of our longtime Doorbird installers. But in regards to the back boxes, and I think they're specifically referring to the flush mount boxes. Do we have any plans on upgrading those so they're more construction friendly? Maybe possibly having flanges?
Honestly, no. I don't. There's been no discussion of changing those. That the feedback is not lost on us. We do hear it. I am familiar with the idea of dog ears on there to grab onto drywall or whatever the surface is, or something to push back, or even just flaps to wing out. So there has been discussion, et cetera. Unfortunately, there's nothing on the roadmap now to update those boxes.